And hello out there in Blog Talk Radio land, my darlings. It is another glorious day, and you know what time it is, honey, so I hope you have all of your crumpets together, because it's time to dish tea. And you're dishing tea, my darlings, honey, ha-ha, with Big Meach. Hey, babies. Yes. We are doing a special edition show today, this Friday, May 31st, 2013, because I really believe that this is absolutely needed. And according to how y'all been fucking with me and carrying on and trying to blow me to hell because of what I'm doing, my darling, yeah, I believe that it's time to have a very much needed conversation about this. Today, my darlings, I'm going to run this a little bit differently. I'm still going to go and have my commercial breaks and carry on, but you know my general opening that I do, we're going to skip all of that and get into the meat of this thing. So if you're listening by computer and want to call in for questions, comments, or concerns, you can call in at 347-205-9183. That's 347-205-9183. When you call in and you have something to say, you can press the number 1. Your hand will go up on my call queue and let me know you have something to say. However, because of the nature of this show, let me say this right now. My guest is already controversial. And I repeat, I do not and will not accept anyone calling in to be disrespectful and to be shady, okay? If we have differences of opinion, that's fine. And I'm going to let you say your piece, but you're going to do it in a way that's going to be very respectful, and you're going to keep your integrity and your dignity. Do you understand me? Because the second I find that you're being shady or whatever, I will cut the fuck out you. Because right now, this is not about trying to finger snap and neck roll. This is about learning how to communicate and learning how to say that it's okay to disagree, okay? So, having said that, I'm not going to even do my disclaimer because y'all already know. If you ain't grown enough to handle it, don't call in. Simple as that. That's just it. Okay? Now, again, the phone number is 347-205-9183. The tea room is open, so if you're listening by computer and wish to go over there in the tea room, make sure that you set up a social page so that you can interact with the folks that's over there. Right now, it's just me. So that there is fine. So, let's get into this because I call today's show, Call Me What You Will, but my name is Walter, okay? Now, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding the most recent injuries that my guest has incurred, and there's been a lot of speculation that has taken on a life of its own. However, since his commentary on what has been deemed to be the outing of Tyler Perry, his particular celebrity has taken on a new life of his own, and the numbers of his enemies and stuff has increased. My guest today is Mr. Walter Lee Hampton. He's the infamous Facebook and YouTube blogger. He has faced much scrutiny and opposition from the masses due to his candor, his tactics, and his subject matters. I personally call him a black gay Rush Limbaugh, okay? So, if I say that, y'all can only imagine what everybody else is saying. So now today, Walter will be dishing his tea with me, and we're going to learn more about the man who has become one of the most love-to-hate people on the planet. So I hope you have all of your crumpets together, darling, because we are about to go into this and speak directly to none other. This is him, Mr. Walter Lee Hampton II. Walter, darling, how are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm just here at home relaxing.
Lovely,
Can you hear me?
lovely. Well, first, yeah, I hear you very well. Thank you. First, let me say this publicly, and that is that on behalf of my sponsors and us over here at Dishing Tea with Big Meach, you know, with the injuries that you sustain and your further medical treatments, honey, we wish you the very best and all that is to come with your treatments and everything. I know you've been very public with it and saying that you've had to go through cosmetic surgeries and this, that, and the other, and not done with that. So we want to wish you well in all of that so that you can get back to being at 100. And trust me, with all the surgeries and shit that I've gone through, I really can relate to what it is you're about to go through, okay?
So thank you. I think I should be back to normal in the next few months. I mean, accidents happen to everyone, but no one's immune from an accident happening to them. And I'm healing okay. I'm feeling fine. Thank God I was in great health, so in going into it, so I could recover faster.
Okay. Well, here, let's start here. Because before we go into the speculations of your injuries and carrying on, and I know you cannot get into that because you've said that there's legal ramifications that you have taken and not able to go into all of that. So we won't touch that. But before we go into any of the speculations that have hit the blogosphere and all of that, let's start at the beginning because folks don't know who Walter Lee Hampton II is. They just know you as a Facebooker. They know you as someone who's a bodybuilder, and they know you as somebody with a mouth. So let's go back and let's start with letting folks know exactly who you are. So who is Walter Lee Hampton II?
This is what I'm going to answer that. I am a loving, caring, black, gay advocate of the black gay community. I love who I am. I'm proud of who I am. I love being a part of the black gay community. I wanted to stand up for the black gay community. I'm 43 years of age. I've been actively involved in the gay community since I was 17, 18 years of age. I've lived in Atlanta since 1989. So with that said, I've been through it all in the gay community. And I think a lot of reasons why a lot of people dislike the stuff that I post is because I truthfully post my experiences that I've seen since I've been involved in the black gay community. And we all know there are some problems within our community that we don't want to talk about. And I think the most troubling aspect of the black gay community is the HIV rate that continues to increase. I've lost a lot of friends to HIV and AIDS. I've buried all my friends. All the friends I knew at 18, 19, 20 years of age were dead by 25. So I outlived, when you have all your friends dying before they even reach 25 years of age, I'm talking about handsome, attractive, intelligent men, it has a profound effect on your life. And you say, I take life very seriously. I take my life very seriously because I've seen the devastating effects of HIV on the black gay community. And I talk about it, and I think a lot of people get upset because the way I go about talking about HIV and AIDS, the way I talk about
most definitely
obesity in our community. But if we don't talk about this stuff, if we don't bring this stuff out and discuss it publicly, because I've been involved with the gay community since I was 18 years of age, and people are very uncomfortable discussing HIV. They're very uncomfortable discussing AIDS. They don't want to talk about it, and I don't think that's a good thing. I think we need to be able to talk openly about HIV and AIDS.
I agree with that. Now, let's start with that particular subject. As a matter of fact, before we do that, let me play this here because let me play this here because I think this will set the tone with what it is that I want to do. I'm gonna play this right here.
That, but also, I know that I need to get more physically actively involved, and that is my vow for 2013: to get out of my house, leave the gym for a few hours a day. If I can spend 4, 5, 6, 7 hours a day at the gym, I can spend an hour or two at an HIV or volunteering and do something with them few hours. What they need to do, lift boxes, carry patients. I don't know. I'm sure they could use some manpower at some of these organizations, and I'm willing to go out there and do it. I don't have I have a lot of love in my heart, so it did bother me. Made me question who I am and my own thoughts. I had to call a friend of mine. I had to ask him, what type of person do you think I am? And I know y'all can stick in my black ass clown on these stupid videos, but that shit hurt like hell. But for people to walk up and say, what the fuck are you doing here? It hurt me. And I know.
Yeah.
I know I have said some stuff that has been so misunderstood. I know I've said and posted some things that people did not understand. I would never intentionally post or say something to hurt anyone with HIV and AIDS. And I know, I'm thinking hard. I know I've said some things. I know I've gone some places on Facebook that I probably should not have went. I know I've did some things and said some stuff that I regret. Okay. I regret it. Certain things I should not have posted. Certain stuff I should never have said. Not sure what I was thinking when I did that stuff. I think a lot of times I was doing stuff to get people to respond. And I was out of line. Some stuff should not have been said or posted about. And I regret that. And you know what? I'm asking you guys to. I'm speaking from my heart right here. I'm asking you guys to forgive me. I'm not a perfect person. I'm not. I'm not a perfect person. I make mistakes. And I say and do stupid shit just like anybody else. You know, it disturbed me last night. Really disturbed me when people I know that I was glad to see these guys. And for them to walk up and say, what the fuck are you doing here? It bothered me. As it should. And maybe I needed that wake-up call. I could even...
All right. So I played that first because I wanted to make sure that I set the tone properly. Because, as I said, you and I have had some really heated debates. I know I'm an opinionated bitch from the west side of Hell Street in Detroit, okay? When it comes to certain things and basically life in general. And I know that in our exchange, it had gotten to the point where it seemed as though you wanted to push my buttons or whatever because you wanted to get a response. I understand that in some of the cases, certain things, and there as certain things you wanted to bring out just to have discussion. And when it came to me that that's what you were doing with me, because I sit up there and let you bait me into these things, that's when I pulled back. I was like, okay, you know what? My blood pressure going up. I don't know why I'm going through all these particular changes. You know, it's kind of like I was almost addicted to Facebook just to find out how you were going to respond to some of the things that I had said or whatever the case may be. And then when I came across this particular YouTube link that you just put up about a month ago as an apology, you know, I think a lot of folks missed this particular posting because everyone has you on attack. So the question that I have for you is, why did you feel that you needed to put this apology up and what has changed in your delivery or in your candor, because there's been a lot of shit that you've said on Facebook and in your blogs that have a lot of people on defense because it has the appearance and it has the resonance that you are calling folks out, you're pointing fingers in their faces, you're up in their faces, and this, that, and the other. And a lot of people, basically, and in all truthfulness, want to put a hit out on you. So what has changed?
Well, like I said in the video, I'm not a perfect person. I am not a perfect individual. My whole intentions when I first started doing these, when I first got on Facebook, and people have been trying to get me on Facebook for a long time, and I really didn't want to go on Facebook. When I first got on Facebook and I started reading the posts and seeing what it was about, I noticed that Facebook is a great place to have a large audience to discuss certain topics. And I had a lot of questions that were on my mind about why guys do certain things in the black gay community. I've witnessed my friends do some very devious sexual activity and put themselves at risk for HIV. I have friends who are HIV positive who go around having lots of sexual encounters with guys and do not disclose their HIV status. I have friends who are negative who do very risky things sexually, sex parties, threesomes, and when they when they get HIV, they want you to have all this sympathy and stuff. So HIV, we have to be honest about HIV in our community and how large it is and how much it dictates our lives. So what I was trying to do was create posts, controversial posts, to get people to talk about it, to talk about stuff that they were doing, activities that are taking place, just bringing everything out in the open, into the sunlight. Now, I will admit that I made some mistakes with some of my posts. Some of my posts, I may have said some stuff. I know I said some stuff really should not have said. So I know with that said, I'm not a perfect individual. Sometimes I think we all do stuff that we might all do and say something in the heat of an argument, because I've said some stuff arguing with people on Facebook, or I did some posts while I was very upset about something. That was not my intentions to hurt or harm anyone. My intentions from day one was this is a great opportunity for us to help one another. Let's take our lives to a different level. Let's talk about these problems so everybody can realize we all have to share the same problems. We're all in this together. Let's try to fix these problems, deal with these problems. First, let's admit we got a problem, deal with it, and try to fix it. And that's what my intentions were. My intentions were never to hurt or harm a soul, not to get people upset, but to get conversations started. Because some of these conversations were deep conversations that people didn't want to discuss. So I was hoping we could have deep conversations about things happening in the black gay community, not just HIV and AIDS, but all kinds of stuff. I have friends who have sexual addiction. I have friends who have sexual addiction and nobody wants to talk about it. Sexual addiction is a huge problem in the black gay community, but people don't want to discuss it. They're embarrassed. They're in shame. They don't want to discuss it. Pride, being proud about being a black gay man. No, there's no pride in our community. People are not proud about who they are. So I was trying to get people to discuss being a proud individual. So there are some things my post, and I'll be very honest with you. I think that what I was doing and what I continue to do, I'm making progress because it brings people out to discuss. I probably wouldn't even be having this interview right now with you had I not did posts that caught your eye and you and I had discussions on Facebook about, right?
Okay. Well, you know what? The reason why I have always, I would give you that because, I've always wanted to bring you on so that folks, number one, can hear you. Because since we're in this technological age, we're all typing, so everybody is reading. Okay, so when we're reading these posts, we're putting our own experience behind it. So we don't know your speech pattern, your vocal inflections, or whatever. So we don't know what points you're stressing. All we know is that we're reading it. So when you start to capitalize certain letters and certain words or whatever, and we start to react differently. I'm one who uses capital letters, but I use it to stress a word. It's not that I'm yelling. It's just to say this is the word that I'm hitting on. But all caps mean that you hollering. But no, all caps and bold letters. But you can't bold. So I'm all caps, bold letters. And you see all caps, bold letters, yeah, a bitch is hot. Okay, that's me yelling. However, when I'm using all capital letters, it means I'm just trying to stress this particular point, or I need you to understand where I'm coming from. It's not that I'm trying to neck roll you. So a lot of times people just read it and they think you coming out of a bag. They think that you trying to, you in your face, you this. So I've always wanted folks to hear you so that if we understand and can hear, you say you're a loving person, if we can hear the love that's in your heart as you're explaining it, then maybe it will open up the discussion to say, okay, you know what, I can disagree with you without sitting up there what you've been getting when folks sit up there, oh, you's a crazy-ass motherfucker. How dare you? Who is you to sit up there and say such and all that you get in these particular posts? Because as quiet as it's kept, as I'm reading these things, folks responding and this, that, and the other, it becomes hard to read because everybody starts to ramble. Then they got so pissed they misspelling words and this, that, and the other because they type it too fast trying to make sure they get to a point. So it's like if we can sit up there and hear you, then we can possibly understand where you're coming from and get a better understanding of your intent. Now, I will say this. And I'm gonna stick with the HIV stuff first because your biggest points that you have been the strongest about have been HIV/AIDS, about being overweight in our community, and about being out and proud. Those 3 points there have been, I think, the major things that you have gotten the most hate about because you have come, or it appears, let me say it that way, your postings have come across to be very inflammatory, very in your face, and yes, I'm a part of the big boy community, so I know when we talked about the fat things or whatever, you and I heavily discussed that, and I know it has been one of those kinds of things, but with the HIV thing, it has been one of those issues where as you come out, folks need to come out with their status and they need to be honest. Now, that there is a statement that I can agree with. However, the presentation behind it has been like you were the HIV police, and bitch, if you don't tell it, I will. And it's kind of like you came across like a dare. If you don't tell your motherfucking status, bitch, I'm going to tell everybody you ass got AIDS and you ain't telling nobody you HIV positive and you fucking everything that moves. And I know if I'm interpreting that way, I'm not the only one. And so a lot of the hate mail that you've been getting about it is based on folks' perception. And that's why I believe folks have been on the attack with you.
Oh, I know.
So
I agree.
With that,
I agree.
So with that, what is your what is your message about HIV, and then what is your fear? Because I've always said that a lot of the stuff, especially in our debates about it, you came from a place of fear. Because some of the things that you have said in our interaction has been strictly from a place of fear. Nah, fuck that. How dare they sit up there and not tell nobody, and this, that, and the other. And no, I'm sitting up there, I'm in the gym every day making sure this, and you got HIV positive people coming up in here wanting to hide themselves. They don't tell their status. They want to take protein, and they want to bulk up like they got something to hide, and this, that, and the other. They ain't got nothing to do with nothing. They're getting a better body, so they take it, and it becomes that kind of thing. And it sounded like it was coming from a place of fear. So a two-part question: what is your message when you're talking about HIV and AIDS with our community, and then what is your fear? Because a lot of what I believe to be your candor is based on fear. So what is that?
Okay. With HIV in our community, in the black gay community, the numbers, we're the only minority We're the only race in the United States where our numbers continue to grow.
Mm-hmm.
We're not taking HIV serious. We're just not.
Mm-hmm.
None of my friends took it serious. None of the people I know in the black community, the people I know, and I know a lot of people in the black gay community, nobody's taking HIV serious. So I was hoping to rattle people's nerves, posting things to get people to see what really was going on, so people can understand that, see, HIV is a disease that nobody really needs to have, it's preventable. HIV is preventable because most people contract HIV through sex, and mainly through unprotected sex. So, unprotected sex and a high amount of sexual partners. So, HIV is something that can be prevented. You don't have to get HIV. The chances of you getting it through a blood transfusion are very slim to none. So, when we, in the black gay community, for some odd reason, we don't take it seriously. There's too much hanky-panky going on. Too many friends I know enjoying going to sex parties. Too many people I know having sex with multiple partners 2 and 3 times in a weekend with different partners. There's a lot of risky stuff going on that people got pissed about that I brought it up because it was their reality. They're mad because they were doing this stuff. I've been around the gay community a long time. I have seen it all. I've seen it all. I've seen what people do in the gay community. Now, like I said earlier, we have a lot of guys who have suffered from sexual addiction, and they're not going to doing the proper things to deal with their sexual addiction. First off, they don't even want to acknowledge they have sexual addiction. And then there's another aspect to this. Men are going to be men. We all men. Men like sex. So we have men like sex and the freedom to go have sex with anybody you want to, whenever you want to, especially here in Atlanta. You know, you could really have sex with anybody you want to whenever. So my whole goal with discussing HIV and AIDS is just to wake people up. Wake them up, let them take a look around and understand what they're doing to their lives. What they need to look around the community, and some of this behavior needs to stop.
Okay. Now, let me go here because I'm hearing something here, but I'm fin to interject my business. Okay. Because I am one of those people who I have dealt with sexual addiction. I've gone through Sex Addicts Anonymous, Sexual Compulsives Anonymous. I've been through the 12-step program, which I hate, okay, because that wasn't for me. And I understand and I realize my trigger factors. I am also one who I know my trigger factors in it, but I've also had to learn how to be a healthy sexual individual without my trigger factors coming into place. I am still one who I would frequent a sex party here and there because I like it. Okay, that there is something that I like to do. Some of my other activities that I used to do when I first came out, I was one who was a public bathroom person, the bathhouses and this, that, and the other. And here, if I attend a sex party, I may even still go to a bathhouse. But I know for me that that kind of behavior is not necessarily conducive to me. So when I hear my friends who exude those same kinds of behavior, especially when I hear myself coming out of their mouth with the bounciness in it, the yearning and the wantiness of it, and when I start to hear that it's unhealthy to me because it sounded like me, I end up sounding like I'm some kind of prude or something, like I'm trying to rain on their damn parade, or here this bitch go. She don't want nobody to have no fun because she ain't having fun, you know. And I don't like sounding like that. But at the same time, you know, not that I want them to say, I'm telling them don't go to these kinds of things. I'm hoping that, I'm like, okay, I need you to think, honey. I want you to make sure that your options are there. Because if you lock yourself in this box without your options, then you have no way of getting out of it. You know what I'm saying? Now, that there is my intent. Now, having said all that, I know it don't come out that way because I get into damn arguments. I get into folks want to, folks don't want to talk to me no more, or they won't tell. I'm a bitch I'm nosy. So what, bitch? What you do? What happened? So they won't tell me the dirt or whatever. The locker room talk conversations or whatever. So then I have to deal with the backlash of all of that with my friends. So now that there is those who I'm intimate with, platonically or whatever, because we've established that kind of relationship. So if I go through that, you're talking about you're on a platform on Facebook and on YouTube where now you have just put this in folks' faces, and some of the stuff that you're saying, you've become accusatory. So how do you deal with the accusatory aspect of it without offering options? See, my whole thing is I got a friend who says that I go into mama mode, and when I offer options, okay, baby, if you're going to do this, make sure such and such and such and such. And then it becomes, okay, you think I'm stupid, or you don't think I thought about this. And when it's obviously that you haven't, because if you had, then you would prepare yourself, X, Y, and Z. I do with my kids and this, that, and the other. If you had thought about this, then all of your actions would have said everything else. All I see is this, because your actions are saying this. So I'm saying all that to you because I understand where you are and how your intention is one thing, but how the message is interpreted is a completely different thing. So how do you tweak it to where it becomes a message of encouragement versus a bitch, you wrong because you in this kind of activity and you need to stop this? Because we all know grown folks ain't gonna stop what they don't want to stop.
And with that said, with what you just said, no matter what anybody says about HIV, I don't care how the conversation is started about HIV, that's a sensitive conversation. People are going to get upset. They're going to get their feelings hurt. It's a sensitive issue. What can you do about it? How can you turn down the volume and not be sensitive? You may not be able to do any of that. You may certain conversations are so intense and so uncivilized about certain situations like HIV. There might not be no way you can turn the volume down.
Well, you know what? It's not so much as
turning. Feeling certain which way it go.
Well, you know what? Now that there is a part of life because you can't please everyone. It's not so much as hurting their feelings. Please them. It's not so much as hurting their feelings that I think is the problem. I think what it is that there are, like I said, it's all about options. There are folks who, and here's the ticket. A lot of folks that you piss off happen to be in our age bracket. Now, you and I are the same age, and I know your birthday, so I'm older than you by a month and 5 days. Okay. So, did I just say that out loud? Damn, I'm talking too much. I'm older than you. Damn, that just hit me wrong. Okay. But at the same time, we're talking about folks in our age bracket. That seem to be very critical with you. Some of the young kids, the young gay children or whatever, they're going, oh, you old, you don't know what you're talking about because they have gotten into this thing of the meds and this, that, and the other. But all of us that are in this age bracket, I would go 35 and up, seem to be the ones who are most angry with you about your candor. And I'm wondering what your take is on it because it's not. It has to be more than us not wanting to. Because see, we have the horror stories. We were there in the beginning of all this, so we know what HIV has evolved from. So what is your take on that? That our age bracket are the ones that's browbeating you the most, or so it appears.
I think people have become complacent and set in their ways. And they don't want anybody telling them what they're doing is wrong. I've noticed something. Most of the guys under 25 and younger that send me messages, they love what I have to say. They get what I'm trying to say. But these older cats, they don't want to hear it for a variety of reasons. Most of these guys, let's just be honest, the vast majority of people 40 years of age are already HIV positive, right?
I won't say the vast majority, but we have a lot. Okay.
The vast majority of African American gay men in their 40s are already HIV positive. They've been positive for years. So a lot of these guys don't give a damn. They don't care. They got it, and they really don't care about it. They just don't. They're stuck in their ways. And some of these guys continue to do, like you say, the sex parties. They're going to the sex parties. They're not in relationships. They're going to the bathhouses or the bookstores. So a lot of these people are just set. They've been doing it for 20, 30 years. That's all they know.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying. They don't want to hear it because they're comfortable and like what they're doing. So I get that. So I don't go after that crowd.
But here's the ultimate question though: is there anything wrong with that? Because I just said I'm one. I would go to a sex. I don't frequent them all the time, because in my maturity, I've realized, that there is not my lifestyle. When I was in my 20s and carrying on, because that was the thing to do, I was at the club 7 days a week. If it was a club open, a bitch was at the club, okay? When I went chasing after sex and carrying on, I knew all the hot spots because that was the thing. If you wasn't in the bathrooms, you was at the park. If you wasn't at the park, you was at the bookstore. If you wasn't at the bookstore, child, you was at the main library, honey, second floor bathroom, okay? You know what I'm saying? So I knew.
Now,
I'm from Detroit, honey, so that's what it was. So I knew, and then you.
Any of this stuff, but I heard.
Okay, so so you follow.
I heard about it from my friends.
Okay, so you follow the graffiti and this, that, and the other. So now, I think this is the appropriate question. I was going to ask this. My original question was, is there anything wrong with it? But here's the question. Are you upset that folks in our age bracket have not outgrown that kind of behavior? Do you think that they're still childish, or what is that for you? Because that's what I'm hearing here.
Well, there's a danger in what they're doing. Now, let's just be honest. This is dangerous sexual activity, right? This is high-risk sexual activity, and people don't seem to care. They don't care. So there's a risk that's involved. I have friends who do cocaine. I have friends who do heroin. I have friends who smoke weed. There's a risk involved with all those activities. Now, all I can do is tell them, maybe you shouldn't do this. I can't get into somebody's face and try to make them not do it because they're going to do it any which way it goes. One of the questions you asked, is something wrong with going through this type of stuff? People are grown. You can do what you want to do. But if you're a grown adult and you're out there at these parties and functions and you pick up some disease or something happens, then you have to be man enough to deal with what your actions cause you to create. And be prepared to deal with the outcome of whatever takes place in your life. Now, like I said, I've buried a lot of friends from HIV and AIDS. Everybody I know just about is HIV positive. Is that a bad thing? Not necessarily, but at the same time, they didn't have to be HIV positive. I'm HIV negative. Let me tell you something. I'm not a bad-looking guy. I don't think I'm a bad-looking guy, but I meet guys everywhere. I cannot walk into a gym and not walk out without a phone number. I have guys who've hit me up for years, all kinds. So if I want sex, I can go get sex. It's readily available. But I've also had to use self-control and say, I cannot get myself involved in that because I know what the outcome of this is going to be. Self-control and discipline on my own sex life so that I don't end up another statistic. So I don't end up with HIV and something like that. So self-control, decency, trying to live a decent life. I like living without dealing with certain issues. So that's why I work out and stay in the gym, because I like staying in good health. So sex is great. I like sex just as much as the next person, but I don't think I'm going to go out and put myself at risk at a sex party, allowing some man I don't even know to have sex with me. It's just not, for me, it's not worth the risk. Now, for some other people, they might think it's worth it, but for me, sex ain't that great. I mean, it's just not that. It's not worth the risk to me to be involved with a group of men at a sex party. It just no.
Okay, so here we go, and I want to go here because as you have eloquently stated, these here are when you put it down, okay, this is how I feel about this. But again, I'm going to your naysayers and stuff because a lot of the fodder that you get from people who are what I call those who love to hate you, because, child, the rhetoric that comes from a lot of these people, honey, have just it is fueled with hate. And it is fueled with a lot of malice. And I'm going to admit, at one point, I won't say that I was hating on you, but I did say, okay, I know this is strategic. I would tell folks, because I'm going into the whole fat thing, because that's very sensitive to me, because your take on that has, again, become very accusatory. As a matter of fact, before I go into that, let me play this particular piece right here.
The hygiene thing, that's another blog, though. But I'm not interested in dating guys who don't care about their health, eating right, trying to stay in shape, exercising, doing something, jogging, running. And I'm not saying a person has to have some six-pack. I barely got a six-pack. I wouldn't even consider my little gut down there a six-pack. But at the same time, I want someone I have something in common with. When I say in common, something that exercise to me is my life. I love exercising. I love going to the gym. I love lifting weights. I love doing cardio. I love running the track. I love riding my bike. I love exercising. I love going to go grab a salad someplace and eat healthy. I love planning out healthy meals and grilling chicken and finding fish and all different types of recipes. It's just who I am. So why in the hell would I date an obese, fat person set in their ways? Because if they have not made changes in their life yet, and they're trying to talk to me, a health maniac, a person who loves exercising, we don't have anything in common. How could we have anything in common? You sit up on the couch, you get off from work. I'm not saying that they're bad-looking guys who are fat. I just think that being fat is dangerous and unhealthy. And it's just, to me, it would be like dating a smoker. I don't like smokers either. I'm not going to date somebody who smokes cigarettes. I don't care what you look like. If you smoke cigarettes, it ain't going to happen. Not interested. And it's no different than me dating, not being interested in an alcoholic or a drug user. Not interested in any of those two. But when it comes to fat guys, I can't do it. I tried it. And the vast majority of guys in the black gay community are fat. They're overweight, obesely overweight. And some of these guys are not bad looking, but just I can't be bothered with it. Because I already know I'm not going to be, I just cannot dealing with a obese, fat lady. Now, if a guy is trying to do something, he's trying to lose the weight, trying to get in shape, I might be willing to give him a chance. I might be willing to give him an opportunity. But if he's just sitting on his fat ass, doing nothing, not trying to lose the weight, not even realizing that he is fat, because I think a lot of people who are fat don't know that they are fat, or they don't care that they are fat, or they know they're fat, but they want you to accept them for who they are. That's their theory. But it doesn't quite work that way for me. My weight has been up and down over the years. Somebody said, were you ever a fat person? At one point, I got up to 280 pounds on purpose, attempting to get to 300 pounds of muscle, majority muscle. But most of my life, I've been a skinny person. Because I've exercised since I was 18, 19 years of age. I love exercising. And that's another thing about, I can't date somebody who's overweight and fat, because if I want to go exercising or bike riding or jogging or running around or go to the gym, they're not going to want to do that type of stuff with me. So why would I get in a relationship with somebody, even date somebody who we don't have anything in common? Nothing in common. I don't enjoy just sitting around eating a bunch of nasty foods all the time. I like to eat healthy. I saw on somebody's Facebook page yesterday, they posted they were having a pig ear sandwich. And I was thinking, you got to be kidding me. I don't eat pork at all. I only eat pork on special occasions. Christmas, New Year's Eve, Thanksgiving. It's very rare I eat pork. Very, very rare because it's nothing but fat. But some people eat it every day because they don't know what's healthy and what's good to eat.
Okay. Now, again, this is one of those subjects, honey, that seems to be one that tears at you. And as I was listening to that, go ahead.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How do you feel? Because you're battling with weight issues now.
Mm-hmm.
You've been in the hospital, dealing with your issues and stuff. Do you feel being overweight? Do you think being overweight is healthy?
It wasn't about being healthy that overweight was for me. Okay, I've always wanted, as a man of size, I've always wanted my life to be a reflection of what a man of size can do. I've been big all of my life, even when I was a 34 waist. Back when I was in high school, I was still the biggest thing at that time because all of my peers, they were 29s, 28s, 30s. Here I come. I'm 6'4" now. I'm a 34, and then when I went up to a 36, I'm still considered to be the biggest thing there. Nobody wanted to be bothered because I wasn't a 29-inch waist. So even though at the time, as a sign of the times, I was, what is considered now thin because I look at my high school prom picture, child, I was a rail, at 185 pounds. But at that time, in the early to mid 80s, that was considered to still be big. Now, you talking about those who were 200 plus, of course, that was absolutely ridiculous. So it wasn't about necessarily health that I was concerned with. I wanted to make sure that I represented well, I looked well, and that I was able to do what I do. I'm not a trained dancer, but if you get me out on the dance floor, honey, a lot of folks don't believe I dance the way that I dance. A lot of folks don't believe that I can move the way that I move. I'm still agile. I can still do this. I could do that. Now, what has happened is that over the years, as I got older and then as I got heavier, the weight became a problem because it wasn't conducive to everything I needed to do. So that's where the quote-unquote health came into play because it affected my asthma. I'm not diabetic, and I don't have bad cholesterol or whatever. But for me, I didn't necessarily have some of the same issues that a lot of overweight people started to deal with.
But you do realize that being overweight is unhealthy.
Mm-hmm. Of course you do. As you start to understand health, then yes. So now it's all about being big and still yet be healthy. Because, at my heaviest, I was maybe 460 pounds at my heaviest. I'm now down to, I just went to my doctor yesterday, so I'm down to 276, and that's down, I was at 290, but I think their scale is wrong. But I'm at 276. Which means I have a weight loss of 100 and they say 67, but I think it's more like 173 pounds that I've lost because I've had surgery. And then preparing for more surgery because I have a hernia. So a lot of the stuff that I'm dealing with was exacerbated by the weight. But for my big boys, because I love a big man. I love me a big man, and I stand on it. That's how come you and I argued on those particular posts, because you're not going to sit up here and give me all this, that, and other about my big old boys. Now, yes, I do understand those who sound like they snoring when they walking and carrying on because they're breathing heavy. Yeah, that's an issue. Yeah. I got that. I believe that. I totally believe that. Because that there means that something is, you're too big for your size. You got to tone some of that off so that you can get into some kind of regularity. I got that. That's not going to be disputed. However, you and I came to battle because, again, your approach. And here's the question. Here is the question. Is your approach taken from the space of I want folks to be like me, and or is it angry because folks are not understanding health issues the way that you do? You know, because you constantly say, I know how to eat healthy. I understand health. I understand going to the gym. I understand movement. And these fat motherfuckers don't. You know, so why would I do this? And that's where it becomes offensive, because it's like, okay, wait a minute, hold on. You're not going to tell me that I don't understand it or whatever. Perhaps I don't want to do it because these particular exercises, I know for me, I don't need no skinny motherfucker trying to tell me how to exercise. You done already lost the weight. What you doing is burning and maintaining. Then you sit up here trying to work me as if I'm your size. Where is the person who's going to sit up there and understand I'm at this weight for whatever reasons? Now, if I'm going to take on an exercise regimen, it's going to need to be X, Y, and Z. You can't sit up here and tell me, okay, we're going to push you, and then say, okay, you need to do exercise that you like to do in order for you to stick with it, and it becomes that whole big old circle. Because if I hire a trainer and you're pushing me to do X, Y, and Z, I'm not equipped for that. I'm brand new to this. I'm asthmatic on top of it. There's nothing out there for anybody who have health issues to get into the exercise field. There's the Biggest Loser and all, but you see how they sit up there, they talk about you, they ridicule you. You're fat, you're this. No. And then you want me to deprive myself. Bitch, that's too much. You asking too much from me. And then you wonder why I get defensive. So is your position coming from folks not wanting to take health seriously, or are you trying to turn folks into gym bunnies like you?
I think my position is a lot of people are just flat out ignorant about their health situation. They don't understand.
Okay, interesting.
They don't understand exactly the right foods to eat. I grew up. My father's from Mississippi. My mother's from Alabama. We ate cornbread, greens, and hog maws every Sunday. I realized as an adult, that's not healthy eating. That's not good for me to eat that type of food. Soul food can be very unhealthy. Soul food to me is like dessert. I eat soul food occasionally. I can't eat it every week because it's too unhealthy. I try to make sure I eat some baked chicken. But it came to a process of talking to people, talking to other trainers at the gym, getting to know people. What did you eat? What exercises did you do? This wasn't something I've been in the gym since I was 19 years of age. I'm 43 now. So the past 23, 24 years I've been inside the gym, I've learned a lot of information. I do personal training now, and I have clients, and I try to get them on the right path. But you can't get on the right path eating no pig head sandwiches. You can't.
Okay, got it.
Foods,
right, because
certain foods you're not going to be able to eat, period. They have to be taken off the diet so that you can get your body down, your weight down to a appropriate size. You and I both know.
And what is there we go with that word. There we go. Wait a minute. Let me press pause. Because that there is what becomes. This can go into that whole no fat, no film thing that we love in the gay community, because that shit pisses me off. And then that whole thing about what is appropriate, because now, everybody want to go through these guidelines. My doctors are doing that with me now. I'm 6'4". You need to be about 205 pounds. Child, 205 pounds at this particular time of my life, I will look like I'm on crack. Okay? No. Okay? That there is where my mindset is. So now let's come up with a compromise. I have not heard anybody sit down there who address these issues to say, you know what, let's find out what works for you. It has always been accusatory, and I want to stand in proxy for those who battle you with this, because I know that's been my issue with you, is that there is no compromise. It's either you need to do this or you just going to be fat and lazy the rest of your life. And that's how it comes across. That may not be your intention, but that's how it comes across, and I will battle that all day.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Again, it's a very sensitive subject.
Exactly, it is.
It's not an easy one. So no matter what a person says, no matter how you approach them, people are gonna be up in arms and sensitive about their weight. Now that
there is true, because. And I would give you that, because change is hard. Life is full of change. That life is a series of change. That's all life is change. But Some changes, folks are just resistant to. And I really believe that one of the things about big people, we have been big most of our lives, if not all, and that has been our identity. I know I'm going through that now. I haven't been this size in 20 years, but a lot of my hospitalization, some of the last 60 pounds that I lost it in 45 days because I was in the hospital. And now I don't feel as though I can hold my own. I don't see myself anymore. I'm seeing a fragment of myself, and I know that's all mental right now, and it's something that I'm working on. But at the same time, everybody calling me skinny. Hey, skinny, and I've been Big D, Big Meach, Big somebody all of my life. So I'm so busy correcting them. No, I ain't nowhere near skinny, honey. I'm still 290 pounds, 275, or whatever it is. Correcting them because I feel as though I'm losing my identity again. You know what I'm saying? And so there's a mental component to this that I think that a lot of you trainers don't understand to a degree. And I think it's because you guys have already made up for it. You're bulky, you got the muscle, you got
but we
stature.
had to start someplace too. We had to start somewhere
And
else.
that's the part of the story that we don't hear. Now, do you get that? That's the part that we don't hear. Yes, everybody started somewhere because I hear that all the time. I go up to bodybuilders' comments and say, how long did it take you to get to that size? Chocolate Thunder on Facebook, honey, this motherfucker wants everybody to sit there comment on his pictures every time he puts something up there. Okay? And yes, he's body beautiful and this, that, and the other, but it took him 11 years to get to that particular part. Okay, I got it. But now we don't hear your struggle. We don't hear what that was or your discipline. What we hear is that now that you have it, you so busy pointing fingers at us saying that we got to get it, you need it, and we don't hear your struggle. Because now we just got finished, we got the end product here. And those of us who are challenged by it, we don't hear it to say, okay, you're one of us. I understand it, I get it. You know what I'm saying? And that's where the resistance come in at.
Well,
does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, but I always will go back to the weight loss. I have clients that I've been working with for the past few years, and once a person makes it up in their mind, I want to lose this weight, I want to get my body in certain shape, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm willing to jump whatever hurdle. I'm willing to deal with whatever obstacle. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get me where I need to be. Whenever you make that decision, then you will get where you need to be. And there's so many overweight brothers in our community. Because there's a lot of overweight brothers in the black gay community. Let's just be honest. There's a lot of them. Some of them don't want to do the right thing. Some of them are not trying to exercise. Some of them are not trying to join a gym or eat right or eat healthy. They're not trying to do nothing. But they're upset because they're alone. They're upset because they want somebody to accept them for who they are. How can you get they want a relationship, but they don't want to lose the weight. They want a relationship, but they're not willing to exercise or join a gym. They're not willing to do any of the right things to make them more suitable partners for somebody. Is that right? Does that make sense? To not willing to not do anything at all, but you know you're overweight. You know you got a health problem, but you're not willing to do anything to improve the situation.
So is the argument, you're not willing to? Is that that's the argument then? Okay, what are you doing or what are you bringing to the table? Because for those of us of the big boy community, honey, we live for it. We like big. I'm a chub for chub. Okay, I like chubby boys. I do have a cap. Now, that's something I had to learn. I know what my cap weight is, and I know what is acceptable to me. And then when I see something that may be over my cap weight or whatever, they may have a cute face, but it's all about their character. Then if you carry yourself well, then you'll get a shot. But you may not be the first person that I run to in the scheme of things. You know what I'm saying? I don't like to see when folks look uncomfortable at their weight. It's one thing for you to be big, but if you look like you are just uncomfortable, like you miserable just because, then that there, it reflects on us as other big men, because now this is the example that everybody's looking at. You know,
But
and
don't you
saying,
think that
see, this is
these
what I
guys,
told you.
these guys have got to begin a process of they've got to, at some point in time, wake up and realize it's not healthy being big. I've got to get my weight down to something that's healthy.
But see that there becomes now it may not be healthy, but what is big? Are we talking about obese? Because see that there becomes clinical definitions. Because one of the things about our culture as black people is that a big man has always been the center of the community. If you look at James Evans, if you look at Uncle Phil, if you look at Bill Cosby, if you look at just everybody, it was but that kind of man.
I hear what you're saying. I understand.
Wait a minute, hold on. Let me finish because that it may support your point. Because that type of man, it was the everyday man. When he went to work, you know, he worked in the plant. He worked on the assembly line. He worked with the jackhammer. So it wasn't all fat. He had muscle up on it. It was that I love that everyday big man. You know, with the big old broad shoulders. When you touched him, honey, he was just wide and lovely. Had a nice little beer gut on him, you know, because he drank beer on the weekends. But he was more solid than he was flab. You see where I'm going with this? And that has always been the pillar of our existence. Every man that we saw growing up, for those of us who had men in our lives, whether he was your father in the house or the neighborhood children that was around, the man of size has always been the pillar. So us being big was always something that we had to consider, and that's what we looked up to. That's what we did. You know, now I think what has happened, and to support you, is that we don't move enough. A lot of us are flab and don't have much muscle up under there. You know, we big, but there's nothing supporting it. And I can understand that particular side of the argument. And if that's the argument, then let that be the argument versus pointing the finger saying, you lazy. Because, see, that when I say your tactics and your candor, that's what we hear. Or that, and then at one point, that's what you say, and then it becomes, okay, well, fuck you. Who is you to tell me this, that, and the other? You know what I'm saying? And then it becomes that whole to-do, and the message gets lost.
But you all, I kind of see that some people, some of the big boy community, like they have big boy pride now. Some members of the big boy community want to be accepted for who they are. They want people to love and accept them for being overweight black men. I'm fine with that. But if you find yourself in a situation where you're overweight and you're attracted to guys, the guys that you're attracted to don't find you attractive, when do you wake up and begin making changes so that the guys that you want to be with you? Now, if you're attracted to guys, I get this all the time from guys who write to me on Facebook, and they say they're overweight. I look at their pictures and say, yeah, they're overweight. And they're trying to talk to guys, and the guys are not interested in them. You know, let's be honest. I'm 6'2", 245, 250 pounds. I'm overweight by 30 pounds. By 30 pounds, I'm overweight. And I'm in the gym every day.
Supposedly.
I'm eating, no, not supposedly. I know it.
And that's something that you, and see, right there, because see, looking at your pictures and carrying on, there is nothing about you that says overweight, but according to what these so-called doctors are saying about this particular scale, you have a large frame. So to say that you are 30 pounds overweight is saying a lot. And so those of us who are more than 100 pounds overweight or whatever, when we start to hear that there starts to be a shutdown, because now you're saying that I need to be a rail. And even for you, you know, you done got caught up in what these scales and stuff say. And then it's not looking at the whole practicality of it, because see, right now I'm like, okay, and you're muscular. See, you said you're 30 pounds overweight and you're full of muscle. So, child, it's like, okay, that's not making sense to me. And the big boy community, yes, we say accept us for where we are, because this is the body that we have now. So you got to accept this as it is. Number one, because I'm not going to sit there and kill myself just to say that I want a man. Now, if you can accept this, and then I start to make the changes. I start to, you know, we start with diet. I tell folks all the time, if you want to sit up there and lose weight easily, then it's time for you. The 3 things that I tell folks to do: increase your water intake, increase your fruits and your vegetables, particularly your green leafy vegetables, and then start walking. If you do those 3 things, then that's what I did when I started losing my weight and when I was losing it independently before the surgery. I lost 60 pounds, and that's all I did. I didn't exercise, trying to kill myself at the gym or whatever. I did those 3 things, and then I saw it was a gradual thing, and the next thing I know, I had lost 60 pounds. I was like, well, delicious. I'm cute, I'm lovely, I'm this, I'm that. My knees didn't creak when I stood up, and it was a goal, and it was fitting, versus somebody sitting up there saying, you are the, you need it, you the, and it lightens up the load so that I want to do it. It still didn't deprive me of anything, and it still gave me the momentum to say, okay, I need to keep going. Then I was able to go, and I got on the treadmill because I'm like, okay,
Hello?
a little definition, just to say I won't have this little ham arm. And if I lift the weight a little bit, I get a little definition. So it started that kind of thing, And that there, I think, if we took that kind of approach, it would make a hell of a lot of difference in the whole scheme of things. Now, hold on. I got somebody calling in, and someone just hung up. Damn it, I was trying to get to them. 313-772. I'm going to bring you in. 313-772. You're dishing tea with Big Meach. Hey, sugar, how you doing? And say hello to Walter.
Hello, Mr. Walter. Well, if this isn't just a bouquet of all sorts of hot topics, wow. I guess, Mr. Walter, I have a question wrapped up in a comment, if you will. I am one, I guess, that would be considered somewhat of an average build. I have my own issues with my body. Yet, when it comes down to the dating arena, I've met 2 specific type of men as far as the muscular men go. You got the kind that won't deal with you at all, because they're like, they'll view me as a representation of bad health and something that they don't even want to be bothered with. But then you have the flip side that are very against the idea of me doing anything to, as far as working out or whatnot. Can you give any insight to that?
I'm just going to be honest with you. You have to do what's best for you and what you feel comfortable with. I've met guys that I was attracted to, and they felt I was too big for them, too large. So over the years, I have to make a decision. Should I lose weight to try to make myself fit in with this group of guys, or that I'm attracted to, or do I just stay who I am? So you have to answer that question to yourself, because losing weight ain't that complicated to do. It takes some work. But what's so wrong with losing some weight to get with guys that you find attractive, that who you want them to find you attractive? There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do.
How about this theory? Because, it's one that I guess, I would love to entertain myself. You said that you've seen gentlemen who were bigger that were attractive. One, if you maintain you doing what you do, I personally would believe, for someone of a larger size to get with you, that would, encourage them to go ahead and work out. And it also, my point of it, I guess, would be it would lend more so to the courting and getting to know someone process, depending on how, much an investment you choose to make. Yet, again, it's not even entertained from what I've seen and what I've personally been through. Getting someone to want to work out with you, at least for me, seems to be quite the task. You've not had difficulty getting guys to work out with you? Yeah, they don't mind, jumping up and down in the bedroom. But when I actually present the thing like, hey, I want to look somewhere like you do, it's either we gonna get to it later and later never come, or they just flat out against it, or you have the last one up, you just never hear from them again. You heard from them all in the first place.
I think it falls down to you and it's all up to you and what you feel comfortable with. If you're okay with working out to lose weight to attract a certain type of guy, There's nothing wrong with that. I don't see anything wrong with that at all.
Well, now it's solely based on health, and I will admit that hateful, childish asshole, however you want to define it in me, really feels like, Lord help the muscle-bound cuties that find me attractive. When I get like that, because there's if you will, a demonic part that instantly wants to say fuck you now. If I wasn't good enough for you then, I'm definitely too good for you now.
Exactly. Okay.
Because, see, I turned your head in general at the way the size I am, and you tell me you didn't want to make an investment, and and yes, it's petty, it's childish, it's all that stuff, but it's especially when you guys were talking earlier about HIV, bridging the gaps, in the communities and whatnot. It's like there's this disconnect in conversation, and simply for me, the courting thing is gone. Within the time process of you legitimately trying to get to know somebody, who knows what changes you can make before you take that step. But, we definitely are in a generation that doesn't want to do that. And then you have the ones, from yesteryear that remember the nightmare of every damn thing, and so that's their reality. Then you got the young kids that don't see it as much of a nightmare, who fighting the old. It's like, oh, my goodness. If everybody could just woo-sigh just a little hot second.
Okay.
Just a hot little second, baby. I mean, it's a very humbling experience to learn oneself, first of all. And in learning yourself, if you stand humble to your own truth, I personally find, for me, it makes you very receptive to others who choose to speak with you. You still get to choose who you're going to make with, who you're going to make a break with. But, I think there's a little bit, it sounds like conceit on both ends. The large, the positive, the muscle bound, there's a meeting ground in the middle that very few are willing to get to. And unfortunately, at least from what I can gather now, it seems like we're all part of the few that's we see the middle. Well, we ain't running towards it.
Okay.
That's just one caller's opinion.
You so stupid. Okay. Well, okay, darling. Thank you for your call. I'm gonna keep your ears on. Sit back and relax on a minute on this, okay?
All right.
All right. Thank you, baby. Lord have mercy. Okay, so we know that was very interesting. As far as that. So again, as far as options and things, and this is going back to your post, and that's why I played that apology first. Because there has been a change of heart with you, particularly now, Jed, you were talking about with the HIV issue. But, just taking that across the board.
I won't say it's a change of heart. I'm just trying to clarify my stats on HIV. I think I'm the same person I've always been.
Not a change of heart, but as you in the post, and y'all can see that in its entirety up on YouTube, you were saying that perhaps there were some things I should not have said. In the heat of the moment, I may have said this, that, and the other, and, I regret saying this, that, and regret saying this, and et cetera, et cetera. So what is, if you regret saying it, then what has changed? What was it that night that said, okay, wait a minute, perhaps I'm not looking at this from this perspective? What was that? And is that across the board? Was that only with HIV, or is that across the board with your entire perspective?
Well, I still feel that we have to. I still feel the only way I'm going to get people to have a conversation and keep a dialogue going about HIV and obesity and other issues in our community, sometimes you have to have provocative posts and videos that are not necessarily politically correct. They have to be almost politically incorrect to get people to respond, to look at it, and and begin a dialogue and discussion. Now, I don't want to cross a line that you start going into an area where you get so offensive, extremely offensive. But I already know that in particular HIV and obesity, discussing overweight work, those two areas are very sensitive for people. They're very sensitive. And It just got. I want to do it a way where I can still be provocative, but not necessarily cross a line that you get into the extremely offensive area. Because some of the people being so sensitive, and then we haven't even discussed about the Black Gay Pride and the whole thing that led to this incident about me doing a video about Tyler Perry.
Okay, well that's coming up. I'm sliding into that because that there is the third area that seems to be one that you're very passionate about, and that's this whole thing about coming out and this, that, and the third, and all of that. But before I go there, let me ask you this question. Because I don't know if it's public knowledge or not, but a lot of people don't realize that you are partnered. Okay, they see you as a single person, or whatever, or someone who may be using your muscle status and this, that, and the other just to be a gym bunny, who have the pick of the meal, like the guy was just the caller was just saying, you body beautiful, and now you can pick and choose who can and who can't, So a lot of people don't know or don't realize that you are partnered. Now, how does your partner deal with all of this? Because now that you're in the forefront, you have this little celebrity now. You are, the face of the black gay man that folks want to hate because of your commentary. How does he dodge these bullets, and how does this affect your relationship?
Well, long before there was a YouTube, long before there was the internet, long before there was Facebook, I've always been a popular person in the gay community. And when I met Earl in the early 90s, mid-90s, from the very beginning, he had to understand that, unfortunately, there was a little bit of popularity around me with friends, family members. I used to throw these huge parties every Labor Day weekend. For years I did this. So there was a little bit of popularity. So very early on, we tackled that problem. Does it continue to have a negative effect on our relationship? Of course, there are problems. People contact him all the time and tell him they feel like they can't get to me, so they'll go through him to try to harass me. It happens all the time. So we've matured over the years. I would hope that we've matured over the years and we're able to understand what these people on the outside of our relationship are trying to do, trying to manipulate us and to fussing and fighting. So, we have our ups and downs. We're both human beings. He's not perfect. I'm not perfect. So I accept that. I realize he's going to make mistakes, and he understands I'm going to make mistakes. So you can't let mistakes that happen in your relationship define the relationship. You have to be able to get past those issues or find a workaround and go on with life.
Okay, but now let me play devil's advocate here. With your commentary being so in your face and so direct, do you think that you're the problem of the problems, or because did you draw those problems? Did you bring those problems on? And if so, with him being,
are you saying problems within our relationship from outside of people? Outside people?
From outside, yeah, because of all the hate and people trying to contact him to get through him to you. And this, that, and the other. Does that affect you? Do you think that, some of this, if maybe you've changed your approach or whatever, that it would lessen the problems that you may have from outsiders dealing with your relationship?
Well, all I can say to answer that question is I'm going to be me, and he understands that I'm going to be Walter. I'm going to be me. He accepts me for who I am. He understands it. If some people do not like me, he understands that. He's known this from day one. From the very beginning, he knew this stuff. He knew this before he even met me. So he knew this, and he decided that it's something that he could deal with. Now, I can't change who I am. I'm 43 years of age. This is who I am. Either you like me or you don't like me. Like I said, long before there was a YouTube, long before Facebook, long before everybody was on the internet, this is the person I've always been. I've always stood up for HIV. I've always stood up for working out, exercising, and eating right. I've always stood up I was always an outspoken person for stuff that I believed in. So nothing has changed. I'm the same person I was 25 years ago. But I will say I have matured. I've matured. I've learned how to agree to disagree. Now, everybody's going to like you. Now, everybody's going to agree with you. And I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay. All right. Well, now let's go into this particular area of the whole coming out, your stance on that, your in your face mode on that, the whole idea of what I choose to call the pointing of the fingers, and this whole what has seemed to be or what appears to be an outing process, the Walter Lee Hampton II outing process, and your candor on that.
I think some people need to be outed. I think
and why, baby? Why? Why?
I don't like. Are you proud of who you are?
Of course I am. Did you realize how long it took for me to get here? I mean, see, this is the thing, honey. See, I'm the one that's been on the front line, honey, since I knew there was one. Okay, so I have been through every facet of what has become gay culture, from being the snap queen, honey, to the drag queen. I have done it. I've done a lot of it. Wasn't a leather guy, but I've worked at the leather bar, so I know what the culture is. I have been that one who have been the in-your-face bitch wearing the pink and purple and carrying the purse. Okay, that was me, and dared anybody to say anything about it. That was me that went and got my hair dyed and fried and laid to the side with my bouncing and behaving hair and did my own nails. When I was wearing my active length on one hand and the glamour length on the other, and they were all mine. I didn't have the Lee press-ons. So, I was that particular person. Now, I'm at a point now to where I'm comfortable. I ran from my masculinity because I did not associate masculine behavior or whatever, because it detested me. Everything that I believed masculine to be at that time was that I detested. And I had to learn to be and to learn to be okay with being masculine is okay. And I had to merge my femininity and my masculinity into one. So the person that I am today, hell, fuck yes, I'm proud to be me, because this is all that I know. But those who cannot stand the way that I stand, I am on that front line so they can stand how they stand. They may not have a voice to do it. Do we need more battlefields and more folks on the hell? Fuck yeah, we do. But because they ain't ready to fight,
some people what? Got to be pulled out of their closet. Certain people.
Why did you say? Why? Please does feel that.
All my friends, I know a lot of friends. They all say the same thing. If someone had not outed them and pulled them out the closet, they would have never came out. I had a buddy of mine who was 5 days away from marrying a woman. When it got out that he was gay, somebody outed him to his fiance and gave her proof, physical proof, that this man was gay. He was devastated by it. But he said it was the best thing that ever happened in his life.
Okay, but
he was free.
That is such an extreme.
But it was an extreme.
It was an extreme, but see, here is the danger in that. See, because you feel that they need to be outed, and I may feel the same way, because I say that about a lot of folks who I feel are in the closet, and my gaydar is, all of my spidey senses are tingling or whatever, and say, honey, you one of us. But, okay, however, that is not for me to do, because I don't know all the ramifications of their lives and what they have to contend with. So just like with my coming out process, every time somebody called me out when I was younger and carrying on, and I had to fight, and I had to this, and I had to that, that was nowhere near comfortable for me. There was none of that was comfortable, and then I had to deal with all the backlash from it. Now, yes, your friend who said that was the best thing that happened to him, because he was able to now live in his truth, because he had been denying it and avoiding it. But still, the process of that wasn't no overnight thing. He had to sit there and deal with that woman. He had to deal with his family. He had to deal with all that. So for somebody to do that to him because they were pissed, because he was about to marry somebody, possibly because they didn't get his dick or his ass, or that was somebody he was fucking on the side or whatever that was, that bitch there needed to be bashed in her head because that was not for her to do.
Every friend that I've had, every friend that I have, all my close friends were all outed by somebody else for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
And they said it was the best thing.
That's interesting.
It's the best thing that ever could have happened to them. Because they weren't proud enough or man enough to do it on their own. So somebody else had to kick their ass out that car off the door and kick them into the room into sunlight. And they realized now they can live a normal life. My buddy who was going to marry that woman told me, he said he would have panic attacks and anxiety attacks because he was so afraid people were going to find out he was gay. This is the only reason why he was marrying this woman. He didn't love her, but he felt that he would marry her, he would have kids, he would have a normal life, he would have people. He would not have to worry about the friends at his church knowing he was gay. He wouldn't have to worry about his family members. He wouldn't have to worry about all this stuff. But he realized, but he knew deep down it wasn't the right thing to do. So when the individual who outed him, and he outed him to an extreme measure, did that, in essence, he saved this man's life.
Well, you know what? That's a debatable point. Okay, because of how folks are looking at it.
It's not debatable to me because I know I've had this conversation with too many black gay men. They all say
I
the
understand,
same thing.
but see, here's the thing.
Had to kick me out that closet. Oh, I wasn't going to go.
Well, see, here's the thing, because it's something that you said that puts this into perspective. Because you just said all of my close friends have given you that story, which means this is the circle that you hang in. So for you to want to take that approach, it's understandable because this is what you know. These are the kind of people that you hang around. So for you to be someone who is that extreme to say no and think that you're doing something that's going to be a positive, look, I get it, but the danger in that is that though you think you're doing something, just like you had to go back on that video to say, okay, I apologize because some of the shit that I said was kind of fucked up or whatever, and you got to backtrack.
I crossed the line.
Exactly, and that's my point. That there is my point.
But on the same token,
that is my point.
But hold on, let's go back to Tyler Perry for a minute.
Go ahead.
I did not out Tyler Perry.
Okay, that's fine. Because
I met Tyler Perry at the gay clubs here in Atlanta. I met him at the gay clubs here in Atlanta, living his life. I'm not the only person who knows Tyler Perry's gay. There's a lot of people who know Tyler Perry's gay. Hundreds of people know Tyler Perry's gay. So Tyler Perry has paid a lot of people off to remain quiet about his sexuality because he's unhappy with people knowing he's gay.
Perhaps he's just private. Tyler
Perry I talked with Tyler Perry about this personally, sat and talked with him about him not wanting people to know he was gay because he didn't want them to, he was fearful that this was having a negative effect on his income. And I don't agree with that. Certain people, and I'm going to say this to the day I die, certain people got to be outed for their own good. So they can go forward and do positive things in their community. Tyler Perry,
and who's to say that's going to be
stuff about Tyler Perry that I haven't really discussed. I know a lot of stuff. But there is a positive side. We can't look at outing somebody as being negative. Some people actually need to be outed for their own good. So they can be set free. To live a normal life.
You know what? I may believe that in my heart to say that it would be nice if they were. You know what I'm saying? But it's not my place to say somebody needs to go point that finger at them because of what they built.
That's how you feel. We have different opinions. We have to agree to.
Yeah, I know. That just saddens me that is so adamant. You know, that's an adamant feeling there because I hear where you at with it. I do hear where you're going with it. But again, the tactics behind all of that, to sit down and to go to the extremes. Perez Hilton got his ass whooped because he was sitting up there and wanted to out folks. You gay, honey, just come on out the closet. And we'll call these children out like that, and then it end up backfiring, because what it sets up is, how do we not become the bullies that we say we don't want to be bullied by? It becomes the oppressed becoming the oppressor.
I can only speak for Walter. I didn't out Tyler Perry. I don't go around.
It's not about fuck the damn Tyler, because everybody whatever that posting was or whatever. I ain't talking about Tyler. Damn him, because everybody have their opinions or whatever about him anyway. Hell, what we do know is truth is this: he is the best paid drag queen that we have walking around right now. So we know that to be truth. Okay, whether he gay, straight, whatever, bi, tri, or whatever, how he uses his dick and his ass is his own business. I don't care anymore. And quiet as it's kept, really no one does. Society, it's the straight children, honey, that are all caught up in what's gay and what's not. We not. We don't care. But what we want, what we are looking for is for validation to say that we are heavy in numbers. Now, that's what our community is about, to say, yeah, they are. So what if he were to come out? What if he did? Or anybody who you feel needs to be forced out?
Let's say
what
Tyler
if they
Perry
do? Then what? Now what?
Let's say Tyler Perry came out. Would this have a positive effect on the black gay community?
I don't think so.
I think so. I don't,
and the reason why I say I don't think so is because as Medea, honey, it ain't done shit for us now outside of getting more drag queens to play her as a character.
Let's take a look at our youth. Kids are coming out younger and younger because they think they can be free. Kids are coming out much younger. I knew in preschool I was gay. I came out to my mother and father in 4th grade. Kids are coming out younger and younger, but they have nobody to look up to. They don't realize they can have a normal life. Now, you're out there in the media. You tell me one well-known black gay man that the youth of today can look up to. Name one.
Now you have a point there, because there are none in media, and I get where you're going with this. However, who's to say that is, because if that was the case in anybody's aspect of it, then we would have had that by now. But for whatever reason, and this is taking your story. Yes, it is fear, but taking your story to say that you sat down and had these conversations with TP, just your story alone, if he feels that that's not going to make his money anymore, he ain't going to give up his coin, and that's his lifestyle. Look at these damn gay pastors and carrying on that we have. Hell, the church is full of sissies sitting up there backflipping and carrying on, but you see these fuckers ain't going to sit up there and come out. Because why? It's going to tear up their coin. So right now,
I think in the case of Tyler Perry, if he came out, I don't think it's going to have a negative effect on him because in fact, I've had this conversation with my mother. Tyler Perry will make more money as an out gay producer than he would as a black.
Well, you know what? We got Lee Daniels. Lee Daniels, honey, is out and gay. But but because he's out and gay,
wealth, he doesn't have the fame and wealth of Tyler Perry.
But that supports my point, though. Because, see, being out and gay or whatever does not necessarily mean this, that, and the third. And Lee Daniels, all of his projects and carrying on, the gay church support him as well. The gay church supported that. That was the church that went up and got Precious, honey, because Oprah didn't and carried on. And Tyler Perry endorsed that. You see what I'm saying? So we have a few that's out there. It's just that right now, the argument you say, if he were or whatever, to do this, it would be an improvement for our community, and that's not necessarily so.
I disagree. I think it'll be very positive experience. I think it'll be very positive for the community. Very positive.
Okay. I would want to believe it to be. Now don't hear me. I would want to believe that it would be.
Do you think?
However, I'm the truth of that is it may not necessarily be. Because, as an out gay actor myself, hell, if I had his coin, I would love to have been there because some of the things that I want to do, I believe, would catapult us into that next mainstream, and it would eliminate a lot of the bullshit that we have. Hell, Noah's Ark with Patrick Ian Polk, he's out and he's gay. Noah's Ark did fine for a minute, but mainstream didn't buy into it. Mainstream, and then Patrick is someone that mainstream accepts as gay. He's thin, he's very fashionable. You know, he has this not so masculine look about him that folks can point at and say that's gay. So he fit the mold that society wants to believe to be gay.
Tyler
It's just
Perry
that
has the money. Tyler Perry has the money in
Tyler
the
got the money, yes, but honey, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to use it that way. Because if it was that way, then we would know of things that he would do on the side now. He would secretly do this. He would secretly do that. Hell, he got ways that he could function into black gay pride now if he wanted to. If that was his calling.
He's afraid, but it is his calling. He's afraid to do it now, but this is his calling. I'm going to tell you something. Tyler Perry's going to come out, and he's going to be a outstanding member of the black gay community because he's living. I've been too close to Tyler, and I have too many people I deal with on a regular basis. When I first made that video, when I very first posted that video, within hours I got phone calls from people that I know that I'm friends with that are very close to Tyler, and we had deep conversations like, "Why would you do this?" And those friends quietly said, "Walter, I'm glad you did it because he's miserable. You don't like what you did. You don't understand it, but I understand it, Walter. I understand where you're coming from." This was hours of me posting that video. So, in time, I'm going to ask you a question about being black, gay, and pride. Do you think you can change your sexuality?
No, because it's not. If we remove sex from it, it's not sexuality. It's attraction. I can't change what I'm attracted to. I can change who I sleep with all the time, but I can't change what I'm attracted to.
Exactly. So that's something that's ingrained. I've known I was, like I said, I was born gay. Is how I see it. I knew I was gay as a little kid. There's no nature or nurture or whatever people say. I was never child molested. There was nothing that took place in my life that made me gay other than me jumping out my mama's pussy.
Okay.
I was born gay. So at some point in time, I've met brothers who are miserable dealing with their sexuality. And you got to find happiness. And the only way you're going to find happiness is accepting who you are and living in the sunlight. Can you imagine going through life fearful at every turn somebody's going to find out my dirty little secret, which really ain't a dirty little secret?
We've all went through that before the coming out process. Before any of us came out, for those of us who had to deal with that struggle, I never
dealt with that struggle. I never dealt with that.
You know?
I knew I was gay in preschool. I accepted my sexuality in the 4th grade when I told my parents I was gay. And my mother decided she was going to beat the homosexual demon out of me, and my father was not having that foolishness. My father was not going to allow her to do that type to me. That was the only time my mother and father literally had a physical confrontation because she was going to beat the homosexual demon out of me, and he stopped her and said, "This boy is gay. This is who he is." And this was in the 70s, late 70s. I was only in the 4th grade when this took place. And my father accepted it. Never had a problem with who I was. Now, so I've always been comfortable with who I was. I've never been ashamed of it. I've never been embarrassed about it. When I was in high school, I literally tore down the little closet door that was there, and people asked me, "You gay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm gay." I didn't have a problem with that. I've never really faced any obstacles because of who I am. So I've always been proud and happy about who I am because I can't change it. That's like me trying to change from being a black man into a white man. Michael Jackson tried his best to be a white man, but he still was a black man. So I'm comfortable and love who I am. And we've got to educate and get the message out there to black gay men. It's okay to love who you are. It's okay to be black, gay, and proud. You should be black, gay, and proud. And if we get this message across to so many black men, I think we'll eliminate a lot of issues in our community. We'll eliminate the issues of sexual addiction. We could bring these HIV numbers down. We could bring down the suicide rate, which is sky high in the black gay community, but we don't want to talk about that. Mm-hmm. There are some things that we can correct by saying, it's okay, this is how you were born, be proud about who you are. White gays don't have this type of problems in their community like we do.
Well, a lot of us, our culture is different. Our culture has been
doesn't make it right.
A culture.
It doesn't make it right. A culture
nobody said that it make it right, but at the same time, see, it's one thing to put a mirror up in somebody's face if you're going to deal with them and want them to see themselves in that mirror. It's a whole nother thing when you take that mirror to the Times Square and do this in front of everybody else. Because the process is differently. And that's what, getting somebody to come out or whatever, or forcing somebody out the closet. Some of your postings and things, on Facebook, when we were debating very heavily about these particular issues, that there is what that feels like. That you have taken these children to the Times Square, and it's the church all over again. Because the church sat up there, and my niece went through this. When she sat up there and told her mama that she was lesbian, and the mama went to the pastor, my mother was going to the church at that time, and this is what made her leave. They took my niece, and the pastor put her up in front of the church and wanted to sit up there and talk about how demonized she was and how dare you do this to your mama and this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. And that was not his place, number one, to go there. And then you don't do that to folks in front of everybody because the ramifications behind all of that.
I bet you $1 million.
What?
I bet you $1 million. Not only did your mother leave that church, but other members left too.
I'm sure they did because
if you got a pastor that ignorant in front of a group of people, something's not right.
But see, you're missing the point. It's not about his ignorance being in front of a group of people. I'm calling yours because the whole idea is that that's the same thing because it's the flip side of the coin.
I've never attacked anybody calling somebody a demon.
The pastor stood up there calling her out, saying that that's a demon inside of her and she wrong for this. It's just the flip side of the coin for you saying you need to come on out because we need you, and if you just be free and and then you can help the black community and you'll be this, that, and it's the same thing.
And you can be. I've ever spoke to said being outed by somebody else saved their life.
Yes, but however, it took a process for that to happen. But it was hell doing
one of my friends. Let me tell you what happened.
It was hell doing that process because they had to come into that.
My buddy was an executive. One of my friends was an executive at a local company. I'm not going to say the company name. Somebody went and found a listing that he had placed on one of these A for A sites or whatever, this other stuff. Somebody emailed this stuff around his job. Around his job. This is 10, 15 years ago. The email was just getting started, maybe about 10 years ago. They emailed this information about what he was on this site doing to everybody at the job in a mass email. He ended up quitting the job because he was under so much stress and about what took place. It was the best thing that ever happened to this man. It's the best
But
thing
you say he quit his job because he was under stress. Go ahead.
He left that job, and somebody else saw that email and contacted him. That man is a multi-millionaire today only because of the way he was outed. Set him free, and he's doing wonderful things, doing something he probably never ever would have been at. Never would have made it over there. See, sometimes people got to be outed for their own good. He didn't see at that time what was taking place. He thought he was being crucified. But at the end of the day, he realized he's been set free. He was at a job he didn't want to have. He was in a life he didn't want to live. Now, so sometimes we got to look at the lemons that life has given us.
That's cut. A whole separate thing. See, making lemons.
I got cut.
Go ahead.
I got cut. And all of a sudden, my name was all over the place. I didn't expect this bullshit. I didn't want this to happen. I didn't expect my injury to propel me into some limelight.
Right, because you don't hit all of the major things, honey. You on TM Media Takeout, you on Bossip, you are on Mr. Obnoxious. Done sit up there, you done hit all of the bloggers, sugar. Okay, so now you have just become a bigger celebrity than what you already were. Okay, because of this and the speculations that went out, everybody. I was one of them because I still say it's too coincidental not to be a coincidence, and I don't believe in coincidences. Okay, that the timing of all of this with this Tyler Perry thing and this, that, and the other. Yeah, I said it. I was like, it's too coincidental to be a coincidence. Okay, now your story, which we won't get all into it because of your litigation and carrying on with it. However, I was one who stood behind that. Now, according to what you said and what you stand behind, I'll take you at your word for it. But if I were to, just like everybody else trying to push this issue, you lying, them drag queens came and cut your ass up and this, that, and the other. If they stood out there at the town square and holding that mirror, just like you want to do with saying sometimes folks need to come on out and we need to bring them on out, it's the same tactic. And you saying to yourself, all of that shit that they saying ain't true. So now you got to battle this. You got to get through this. It done put you in the spot of celebrity. Now you got limits, and you have to make lemonade from it because that's what life has given you. I was these people.
An accident happened at me at a restaurant.
Uh-huh.
Now, I wasn't going to fight people about a lot I knew wasn't true. I knew ain't no damn 5 drag queens attack me. I knew this stuff was some vicious lies that the gay community put out there to try to harm me. But they didn't harm me. They didn't harm me.
Right.
It all of a sudden drew people's attention to what I was doing. Through that injury, other doors have opened wide. Now, I really regret that this injury happened. Trust me, I have to go through surgeries. I'm still dealing with this stuff. I'm still concerned about the scar. There's certain issues. I don't want to have to go through this mess. But at the same time, I've been offered all kinds of opportunities. That means that never have happened if a glass door had not fallen.
Okay, and that's understandable. So that was your limit that you turned into lemonade, but you didn't ask for that door to fall on you, did you? Nobody asked for that door. But exactly, which is my point. So no one asked you to out somebody, to put that mirror. Your friend, he didn't ask for that. Now, fortunately, he was able to sit up there and he had a wonderful opportunity come. But what would have happened if he had been one of those ones that killed himself because of that? Because just like you said, we don't talk about suicide in our community. What would have happened if somebody, that whole bullshit would have been the one that caused him to take his life because he couldn't deal with that pressure?
Little less than 6 months ago, I had a friend commit suicide. He committed suicide. He had a son. He had a woman that he was seeing, but he was gay. And having a very tough time dealing with a couple of issues that popped up in his life. Unemployment. He was gay. He was uncomfortable with his sexuality. He was trying to hide this information. When that man killed himself, his secrets were all let loose. And his mother stood on that podium and said, if he had just come to me and said, or if anybody had came to me and said, your son is gay and having problems, she could have reached out to help him. And saved this man's life.
Now that's hindsight, honey.
Yeah, but the whole thing of it is people were afraid to go and tell anyone this man was suffering from depression about his sexuality. Because it wasn't even a secret. Some secrets are good for people to know.
If they had just said he suffered from depression, if they had just left it at depression and they gave him the opportunity to face it, then we could have helped with the depression because, then it would have been something that we could have worked on. It is not up to us to sit up there and say in front of everyone and say, you know what, this is what he's dealing with. That's not up for us. We do that independently.
Where
if I'm coming to you one-on-one and say, honey, then you
have
know
a conversation about somebody. Where are you getting this from? Because I don't see this in the gay journal someplace that you can't have a conversation about somebody's sexuality. Where are you all getting this stuff from? Why are we closing this door?
No. It's not about not having a conversation. You said your argument is sometimes folks need to be outed for their own good. And to be outed means that you have gone public with their business in front and just made it public for the world to know. Not that we having a conversation like we doing here inside of our houses or whatever. You said out. And to out somebody means I'm finna get ready to be the town crier and let every bitch know that this motherfucker is gay.
And I don't think
that there is not cool. You might as well run it on the news report.
It may not be cool, but guess what? Some people need to be outed. And if it means taking
all right,
that
we have to agree to disagree on that point, honey.
Because I see positiveness in it. I see something positive in it because I've talked to too many people.
And I know you do. That's
25 years in the gay community talking to black gay men. I get it now.
I know, but and I've been doing it for 28, so I understand that we're the same age, so I get it, and I hear what you are positively. But what you're not understanding, my side of the point is, that positivity comes from 20/20 hindsight. Outing someone's HIV status, honey, yes, you may say this now, and they can say, okay, that was the best thing that happened to me, because they had to now learn how to deal with this, that, and the other, but that process is hell. Because now you don't put them on Front Street. Everything about their life, honey, has been snatched up under them. When that door fell on you, your life has been snatched up under you because you got to undergo these particular treatments. You got to go this. Yes, the opportunities from it, you can see, okay, this could take me here, and oh my God, okay, I can see how the good in this can come out of it, because there's good in everything. But that it's not up to us to sit down there and put somebody on Front Street like that without understanding all of the ramifications and not just looking at what it could do, because that could backfire. Just like we saying about suicide, this person may not be strong enough to handle that pressure and may end up taking their own life.
That man would be alive right now today. My friend would be alive right now today, and the father to his children, his son, had somebody who knew what he was going through, went to a family member, or a friend, and outed that man. But he was dealing with all these down low people who were hiding in the closet themselves, hiding and running from their own darkness and their own secrets, and it worked against them. And this man thought his only way out was to commit suicide. Does that make sense?
But again, outing him wasn't going to make any sense either, because he saw that as the solution. If I just take myself up out of here, then nobody has to deal with it.
His mother made it clear. I would not have had a problem if someone had came to me and said my son was gay.
But somewhere in there, apparently somewhere in there, she would have, because he would have.
Out after, because people live in fear.
Exactly, because somewhere in there,
he was living in fear.
Somewhere in there, he had to have been, because if that's his mama, if his mama said that and he couldn't go to his mama, then that means somewhere in there he could not do it. Because somewhere in his rearing, it was not conducive for him to do it. I was scared as hell. In fact, mine came to me. Mine came to me.
And what did they
say? She came to me because she was like, I was sick, honey. I had mycoplasma pneumonia. I missed my entire senior year, the first semester of my senior year in high school. And she said, something ain't right. The doctor said you're supposed to get well, and something ain't right. It's something you ain't telling me. That's how she came to me, and we had it out. She flat out asked me, "Are you sexually active?" Yes, I am, with men or with women. And I knew then she knew. I knew then. I was 16 years old when we had that conversation. So my mother came to me, and we were open enough to talk about it, you know. But at the same time, for that guy to sit up there and say he couldn't go to nobody, something in there was blocking him to be open outside of fear.
His own fear. His own fear. Let me tell you something. I've been with this man. I've been with this man over here for 18 years. 18 years, me and this man have been in a relationship. 18 years. This man is still fearful to tell me certain things. I have to pull that shit out of him. I always say, why were you afraid to tell me this? Why? You could have told me that. Why? You should have been able to tell me anything. I come to you and tell you all kinds of stuff. Why are you afraid to tell me stuff? Right? You can't say, because I'm willing to listen to anything this man got to say. So you can't go on that assumption that people are afraid to.
I'm going to tell you, yes, I can, because I'm going to tell you just like I know. I'm going to tell you, because, see, if you are as in your face as you are in your posting with your husband, child, please, some of the shit that he may not want to hear your mouth or your commentary. So, yeah, he's scared to tell you because I don't feel like going through that shit. And then after you drag it up out of him and then you give him the okay, I'm cool with it, then y'all sit down and have a discussion because he don't know what the barometer is. I would sit up there and bet 10 downs over donut nothing about that one because of how your commentaries are. If you are as in your face in your commentary, child, I'm almost certain in your relationship where there's no holds barred, child, shit, please. I'm down to 60 seconds on this show. And we're about to, for those of you listening by phone, stay on the line because I'm going to close off properly. If you're listening by computer, honey, we're going to stop streaming in just a few moments. But I want to make sure that I say thank you all for coming on out. Child. We could go on and on, but of course we're going to have to end this soon. So just stay tuned. If you miss anything, you'll catch everything in the archive. So thank you all, and we're going to continue talking. So go ahead now, Walter.
I'm here. I still feel. Did you even watch the video I did on Tyler Perry? And what did you think about it?
What I thought about it was, I won't necessarily say you outed him. It's calling, and that's why I'm using that term loosely because I don't think you outed him. You just did what you just did here. You said you've had conversations with him. He's gay. He's this. He's this. He's this. He's this. Basically, you just told his business. I won't call that an outing because there was so much that you said up in there that I wasn't there, so I don't know how true it is. You said you calling names. I was here with Eric. I was here with these children. So it sounds like it's factual. Okay? So it's like, okay, there may be some truth to this. But now, at the same time, why would you sit up here, call him by name simply to do X, Y, and Z when you know he wasn't ready for that? That wasn't your place. That wasn't your place. Theory? Yeah.
And I will again say this again. Some people need to be outed.
And that's because that's that circle you hang with. See, you hang with them folks that sit up there and got your name and put in your head that it was okay for them because, oh my God, that was the best thing that happened in my life. And you said all of my good girlfriends, all of my good friends, honey, they all told you that. So that's what you're comfortable with, and that's lovely. I'm not going to
when I talk with people.
That's fine. I'm not going to refute that.
Subject. It's a sensitive subject. We will agree on that. So these individuals, practically everybody I've ever spoke to, these people do all kinds of stuff in their lives. They all say the same thing. If somebody else had not purposely threw them out that closet, they wouldn't go walk out on their own. They wouldn't go walk out on their own. And I think that's the story for a lot of black gay men. I think a lot of black gay men I think a lot of black gay men are fearful of the unknown. They just don't know what may happen. They don't know. So with that being said, there's some fear there, although no one may have not ever placed some fear, some reason for them to be afraid of something. They just have an inner fear of them of the unknown. And they shouldn't have to feel that way about being black and gay. They shouldn't.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
They shouldn't have to. They should be able to live their lives. And I really do think if we can take away the negativity about being black and gay, People can live normal lives, and we can correct a lot of issues that take place in our community.
All right.
Because a lot of guys do devious behavior, the bookstores, the bathhouses, the sex parties, because they don't want to have a normal relationship. Because they'd rather sneak into a sex party and bust a nut, or sneak into a bookstore and have sex, instead of doing things the right way.
Well, and here we go with this whole right and wrong way. See, that's a judgment call. That is a judgment call again.
Now, you know damn well, going to a bookstore at 12 midnight, you get your damn dick sucked, is not the right thing to do.
Says who? It may not be right for you because you've been partners for 18 fucking years. Child, come on.
When I first came out, I wasn't in a relationship. I didn't
okay, fine. And that may not have been the route that you wanted to choose to say this, that, and the other. Some folks, you know, they say, hell, I know couples that sit up there. My cousin he and his husband would do that because that was what excited them in their sex sexcapades or whatever. So I know couples who use that as entertainment. Now, if it becomes a lifestyle or whatever, like for those of us who are addicted to sex and that was the thing, yes, you know, those going to those extremes, I understand, and yes, it can get out of hand, and that's where a lot of stuff becomes, you know, all of that. Is it risky behavior? I do agree. It is risky because you're going into the anonymous pool and there's very little conversation. It's all sex and it's this, that, and the other. I got that. But at the same time, to have a judgment call of what's right or what's wrong, that ain't your walk. That's not your walk.
We know what's right and what's wrong.
That is not your walk.
The things that we do in our community. It may not be my walk, but I sure know. What do you think about the HIV rates in our community? The continually rising of the HIV rates. What do you think is causing that?
Well, my whole thing of it is it's there because the information is wrong. See, a lot of folks want to still believe that undetectable means cured. A lot of folks want to believe that because I take my meds or whatever that yes, you are okay, but at the same time, honey, you still have to deal with this. The way that the information is going out there, nobody is teaching these folks. Folks are not using condoms because in our age bracket, they got diabetes and high blood pressure. You want all these different medications. Folks are having problems with their dick. They cannot use condoms because they can't put it on. So those are some of the areas that nobody's talking about that sit up there and put other folks at risk.
I agree 175% with what you just said.
So that's where it is.
Are likely to work. I agree.
You know, so the whole idea of HIV rising, now the numbers are rising with these kids. It's between the ages of 14 and 24. Why? Because they don't have the point of reference that we do. They are coming out to medicines and stuff. All they know is I'll go take a pill and I'll be fine. Because once I get undetectable, I'm good. Then the folks the way they teach it is now, everybody still wants to believe that HIV and AIDS are two separate things. Because now, I'm full blown, as if that says something. That don't mean nothing but your T cell count is low. And you have gotten below 200. You know what I'm saying? But I was told, and somebody told me it's down to 8 Atlanta, and I fell over because they said that the reason why they do it is to ease folks' minds so that they could better accept the HIV diagnosis. I'm like, honey, HIV is the thing. That is the virus. AIDS is the diagnosis that says your T cell count is low. And the first time that it goes up under 200, that's when they say you're full-blown AIDS. And you are full-blown AIDS from that particular point. Not that you can't reverse the T cells, because if you're on your medicines and stuff, your T cell count can rise and this, that, and the other, and you could go into an undetectable state. They don't teach it like that. That's the misinformation that's going on out there, and that's what nobody is saying.
I agree with
Everybody's
you 100%.
still pointing fingers. Everybody still want to point fingers, and they're not teaching risk reduction anymore. There are folks out there, like I said, with the whole condom thing, erectile dysfunction, those who on steroids are carrying on in the gyms and shit, that's taking all these steroids trying to be big, that's fucking with their dicks and shit. They can't use condoms. They dick half work. So they don't tell that part of the story. So that's the information that needs to go out there. They're not using risk reduction anymore. When I was an HIV counselor, if you said you didn't want to use condoms, then we had to go through a risk reduction plan that said, I agree, we're going to eliminate remove some of the number of folks that do you agree that you're going to pull out before you nut or whatever. Those are some of the things that we talked about then. We don't talk about that now.
Do you understand why they're not promoting risk reduction anymore, though?
HIV it all goes back to money. Come on.
It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Of course,
more people,
it all goes back
the more
to that.
The merrier. So it all boils down to money. The more people who test positive, the more patients you have, the more patients you have on HIV medicine. It's just the way it is right now. To be honest with you, I almost feel that some of these HIV advocates are actually doing stuff to promote HIV being spread in our community. That's how I feel. Because when I go to
that could be something to look into. I don't think that they're doing enough with education because I go get tested every 6 months, and every time I go, I ask my operator, the testing agent, I say, has the CDC done anything about erectile dysfunction and condoms yet? Do they put that on the table? And the last time they said that it was on the table was 3 years ago, and it was a moot point. And they haven't talked about it since. I said, and they wonder why, what's going on, particularly in our age bracket. Those who are over 40, we get, that's dealing with high blood pressure and carrying on, like you said about health issues with the big boy community, because a lot of big boys, I feel, are bottoms on default. Because of weight issues and carrying on, then we have this fascination with dick size. So the bigger you are, you done lost dick size. So a lot of that, and this, that, and the other. So it becomes that particular kind of thing. Self-esteem issues. Child, come on. We could go on and on with this, but the biggest thing is this whole risk reduction.
I do agree with you 100% because I'm beginning to notice a lot of my friends who were tops are now bottoms because their dicks don't work no more because of the various medications they're on. But I always wondered, does Viagra work? Can they take Viagra? Does it give them a solid enough erection to put a condom on? See, I don't know this stuff because the only way we would know this stuff is by having organizations where black men came together, sat down, and discussed their problems. Do you know of any organizations where black gay men sit down and talk about
No, we're not going to talk about it because our culture is very superficial. We're so busy trying to get dick and ass, and then, here in Atlanta, this is a tops heaven because there's so many bottoms here. We're so busy caught up in who's a top or who's a bottom. You can't go in there saying that your dick don't work and you're trying to get some ass. You can't go up in there saying that. Because our community would not accept that. Particularly a black, we won't accept that. Because what's going to happen, this little bitch going to go up there and tell all your business. His dick don't stay hard. Don't fuck with that one. So it becomes that whole big old thing. And so now what we will find is that every point has a sub-point and a subcategory. So then it becomes layered. Everything becomes layered. And it's one thing to be passionate about it, but again, the tactic that we approach this with has to be delicate enough to where we hit it, get the point that we're trying to make without trying to sugarcoat it or whatever, and yet folks will accept it to where we have a healthy debate and you don't get all this hate mail that you do.
Of course. So do you think that there are possibly at least 3 bottoms for every top in town?
John, I believe there's 5.
And I believe you. I believe
there's 5 because the first 3 are going to say that they're total bottoms. The other 2, one going to say he's a versatile bottom. The other one going to say he's versatile. And you may have 6 because one will say he's a versatile top, but I like you, so you get a little piece.
That's interesting. Yeah, there are sex. I think that in this city that there is a lot of bottom individuals here, a lot to choose from. I will agree with you on that one. Guys that you wouldn't even assume were bottoms. They're quite guys who, and I love to see when guys approach me and come out from their total top, and then 6 hours later the conversation changes into, I get screwed every now and then.
Right, because now, you fit the bill and carry it on and whatever insecurities or whatever. And see, this is the kind of stuff. See, this is why the folks needed to hear your voice. Because, see, if you had approached these issues like this in your writings, I believe some of the conversations would be a little bit more healthier and not necessarily folks trying to come for your damn jugular and sit up there and make your husband a widow.
Well, that's why I started doing the YouTube videos. I think the YouTube videos get my point across more clearly without causing so much disdain in the community.
Okay. All right. Well, give everybody your YouTube page and carrying on, and how folks can find you if they want to. For those who don't know, because I'm sure there's folks here that are sitting up here saying, "Now, who in the hell is he?" You're probably going to get a lot of hits and things on Facebook, but just let everybody know where they can find you.
You can catch me on Facebook. My name is under Walter Lee Hampton II or Walter Hampton II. I actually have 3 Facebook pages, but one I'm not really using right this time. So you can catch me on either Walter Lee Hampton II or Walter Hampton II. And on YouTube, I'm under Walter Lee Hampton II. And my email address is walterhampton2@gmail.com. So if anybody wants to reach out to me, I try to talk to people as much as I can. I get a lot of interesting emails throughout the day, which is I get a ton of emails throughout the day. And I think most of the people, quite a few people, I would say most people understand me, and they also understand what I'm doing, and they love and appreciate the things that I've been doing within the Black gay community.
Yes, and I'm going to say this because I've been reading some of the comments that's been on your YouTube videos, and I'm saying that you have a lot of allies in the hetero attractional community because a lot of them feel as though that you're giving them information, which I think is another aspect to this, because if a black gay man is crucifying or at least putting the mirror up to the gay community, the heterosexual community is like, okay, well, I guess it gives them some kind of hope or whatever, and it dispels a lot of their whatevers, because as I was reading, and I was like, oh, okay, I see where this is going. A lot of straight women are carrying on, oh, thank you for this and thank you for that, because they, too, are scared to ask questions and this, that, and the other about their man and, those who on the down low and et cetera, et cetera. So it's very interesting. The comments and a lot of the supporters. And then, like you said, there are a lot of young children, who have commented and who are in support of you. But again, these young babies, honey, they don't have the point of reference that we do, so they need the information. My challenge to you is let me see where you go from this point and learning how to let your message be the message without it being a judgment. That's my challenge to you. And yeah. So, all right. So this is a good show, honey. On that, I'm going to let you get back to your day because I need to get mine started. Okay, it's 3:15. And it's a Friday and carrying on. So, yes, I'm sure folks got weekend plans, and we'll do that. So, Mr. Walter Lee Hampton II, honey, all right. What a joy.
Well, thank you for having me on the show. I hope I was able to clear some stuff up with your listeners. And
I hope so. We'll find out in a minute. We will find out in a minute, baby.
All right.
All right, I'll talk with you soon. All right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And there you have it, folks. That's Walter Lee Hampton, honey, in his own words. And this, that, and the other, as you can, child, okay, it's one of them shows, honey. See, we could go on for hours and this, that, and the third, but I'm glad that y'all were able to hear where he's coming from and things of that nature. So from this point on, I'm hoping that as he blogs and as he does his thing, that as you leave your comments, whether you agree or disagree, that we could all, our voices can all still be heard, and it's not taken in a manner of maliciousness and hate, because we can't all say that we're operating from a place of love, honey, and yet all of the words and what we're spewing becomes bullying and hate, because then it's counterproductive. It is then counterproductive. So it's one thing to be passionate about your issues. It's another thing when you know you're bullying because you want to press your point, okay? And that there is that. And that's what I'm hoping he heard that, because I do believe that at times that's what he's been doing, was pressing his point, and he became like an ogre or a bully. At least that's been my perception of it. So if I've done you a favor, good. If I didn't do you a favor, then, one way or shape, style, form, or fashion, let me know about it. Email me at Big Meach at dishingtea.com, or go to the webpage at www.dishingtea.com, Or you could go over to AtlantaLGBT.com/Big Meach, MEACH. So with that, honeys, you may finish all of your crumpets, darling, because the tea has been dished, and you've been dishing tea, my darling, honey, with Big Meach. If you love me, tell a friend. If you hate me, tell an enemy. But do know this: one way, shape, style, form, or fashion, this thing will move forward, honey. Giving it to you the way it's giving it to us. Fabulously fierce, honey, never shady or cynical. I am Big Meach, and I will see you guys next time, okay? Ciao.